A shroud of mist clung to Dunn on that fateful night, like a spectral shroud clinging to a forgotten tomb. Tom Dunn, a man with a healthy respect for the whispers of the unknown, quickened his pace along the familiar path. The festivities of the husking bee had left him with a pleasant buzz, a lightness in his step fueled by both good company and potent cider. He'd even managed to steal 20 kisses from the rosy-cheeked Sarah, a feat that left him with a triumphant swagger beneath the star-dusted sky. However, the shortcut that beckoned across Rag Rock held an undeniable allure. Time was of the essence. Sarah's smile lingered in his memory like a phantom warmth, and besides, Tom wasn't one to shy away from a challenge. Superstitious whispers about the rock held little sway over him tonight. He scoffed, a sound that died in his throat the moment his boot crunched on an unnaturally cold patch of earth. A prickling sensation, like 1,000 unseen needles, crawled up his spine. He dismissed it as a trick of the night, a shiver born of the damp air, but the unease wouldn't be quelled. As he crested the final rise, a sight both captivating and unsettling unfolded before him. A soft, ethereal glow pulsed from a clearing nestled amidst the gnarled trees, casting an unsettling luminescence on the twisted branches. The mournful wail of a fiddle, played with a manic urgency, pierced the night air, each note a jagged shard of ice scraping against his sanity. Curiosity, a relentless itch he couldn't ignore, propelled him forward, each step heavier than the last. Pushing through the dense undergrowth, Tom emerged into a scene both fantastical and terrifying. The clearing pulsed with an unnatural light, cast by flickering torches that swayed in the night breeze, their flames dancing with an unsettling life of their own. Figures, clad in clothes that seemed to belong to another era, twirled and leapt with an inhuman grace. The music, a frenetic jig that scraped against his sanity, seemed to vibrate in his very bones, a rhythm that pulsed in his veins and threatened to steal his breath. A primal urge to join the revelry battled with a sliver of unease lodged deep in the pit of his stomach. But Tom, ever the social butterfly, couldn't resist the chance to showcase his own impressive footwork. With a confident swagger, albeit one laced with a newfound tremor, he barged into the circle, a wide grin plastered on his face that felt a little too tight. The dancers, momentarily startled, turned towards him. Their faces, illuminated by the flickering torchlight, were a study in captivating contradictions. Their skin, smooth and flawless, glowed with an unnatural luminescence, and their eyes, though undeniably beautiful, held a glint that sent a cold tremor down his spine. Yet there she was, perched on a moss-covered hillock, like a spider waiting for its prey, a woman whose ebony eyes held a mischievous spark, and whose lips curved into a smile that promised untold pleasures, both exquisite and terrifying. Without a second thought, Tom swept her into his arms. The music seemed to quicken its pace, urging them into a whirlwind of movement. He twirled her, the woman's touch surprisingly cool against his skin, and his heart hammered a frantic rhythm against his ribs. But a slow, insidious change began to creep over the scene. The gaiety of the dance morphed into a grotesque parody. The dancers' faces contorted, their youthful beauty replaced by a gaunt, skeletal visage. Their eyes, once sparkling with amusement, now glowed with an emerald fire, cold and malevolent. The woman in his arms, too, began to transform. Her laughter turned into a guttural growl, her touch like ice against his skin. Her beauty curdled, the youthful allure replaced with a grotesque caricature of her former self. Panic, a cold serpent, coiled around his heart. He was dancing with demons, creatures of shadow and nightmare, their laughter a cacophony of shrieks and hisses. The only escape the rising sun, a sliver of pale hope peeking through the eastern horizon, painted the sky a sickly saffron. Sweat beaded on his brow, each step a Herculean effort. The once merry tune now mocked him, a relentless taunt egging him on. The weight of dread threatened to consume him, but a primal instinct for survival spurred him forward. He gritted his teeth, ignoring the searing cramp that gnawed at his calf muscle. Every fiber of his being screamed for him to stop, to collapse and surrender to the darkness, but the fear of what awaited him if he did was a far more potent motivator. Just a sliver of dawn, he chanted silently, willing his exhausted body to continue. He stumbled, his vision blurring at the edges, but he found his footing again, fueled by a desperate hope. A monstrous shape loomed over him, its fetid breath reeking of brimstone and decay. Razor-sharp claws glinted under the flickering torchlight, promising a gruesome demise. Tom flinched, his scream catching in his throat. But before the creature could descend, the woman, the once beautiful, now monstrous hag, let out a blood-curdling shriek. Her emerald eyes darted towards the horizon, a flicker of fear replacing the malevolent glint. No, she screeched, her voice a rasping parody of its former melodious quality. The light, it weakens us. The other demons, their grotesque visages contorted in a mixture of fury and panic, mirrored her reaction. The frenetic jig they had been dancing slowed, their movements sluggish and hesitant. The once lively music sputtered and died, replaced by an unsettling silence broken only by the ragged gasps of Tom's labored breaths. With a final, desperate lunge, Tom propelled himself out of the clearing. Thorns tore at his clothes, unseen branches whipped at his face, but he didn't dare slow down. The chilling laughter of the demons echoed behind him, a constant reminder of the horror he narrowly escaped. He stumbled through the undergrowth, the rising sun painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, a stark contrast to the inky blackness he was fleeing. Just as his legs began to buckle, he burst free of the tree line, collapsing onto the dew-kissed grass in a heap. Tears streamed down his face, a mixture of relief and terror. He lay there, gasping for breath, watching as the first rays of sunlight bathed Rag Rock in a golden glow. The clearing, the demons, the horrifying dance all seemed to vanish under the relentless gaze of the dawn. Slowly, painfully, Tom dragged himself to his feet. His body ached, his mind reeled from the trauma, but he was alive. He turned back towards Rag Rock, a strange mix of fear and morbid curiosity gnawing at him. But as he looked, he saw nothing but the familiar rise and fall of the wooded hill, bathed in the soft light of morning. Was it all a hallucination, a fever dream brought on by too much cider? He reached into his pocket, his fingers brushing against the smooth handle of his jackknife. A jolt of terror shot through him as he realized something had changed. Two images, etched into the surface with an unnatural precision, were now permanently imprinted on the metal. One depicted the woman in all her initial beauty, the other captured her monstrous transformation. A stark reminder of the night's events, a chilling souvenir from the dance with demons. Tom clutched the jackknife tightly, a silent vow forming on his lips. He would never forget this night. He would abandon his frivolous ways, the memory of the dance serving as a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked just beyond the veil of reality. He would seek solace in piety, his laughter replaced by prayers, his thirst for cider quenched by the bitter taste of redemption. He lived a long, respectable life, the horrors of Rag Rock forever etched in his memory, a cautionary tale whispered to his children and grandchildren. And when he finally drew his last breath, a cherub hopefully without a hint of a toothache adorned his tombstone, a stark contrast to the horrors he had danced with on that fateful night.